Hello. The title of this podcast is Don't Allow the Need for Things to Be a Certain Way to Cause Suffering for You. This podcast was, inspired, motivated by something that I read in Michael Singer's book most recently. And again, he's the author of Untethered Soul, and he has a lecture series. And so he just said something that made me really look at how in the past I unconsciously pretty much relegated or sentenced myself to have some unpleasant experiences during my lifetime just by being unconscious and my need for things to be a certain way. So I guess the best way to kind of, uh, uh, make this clear is by telling an example from my life. So when I was in the military, I was stationed in Yuma. Now, leading up to me being stationed in Yuma, I made a declaration, and that declaration is that I need to be stationed back in Tennessee, close to friends and loved ones. And I made that clear to the recruiter who was across the street from our high school. That if I go into Marine Corps, I'm happy to serve my country, but it's important that I'm stationed, close to home. And he said, "Yeah, sure, you got it. Let's write the duty station down." Anybody who served in the military or as a loved one who served there, they know that him, like my recruiter, making that commitment was a stretch, and that's to put it kindly. And so I wasn't stationed in Tennessee. I was stationed in Yuma, Arizona, which was a long way from Tennessee in many ways, especially for someone who was so identified with needing things and people in life to be a certain way to be happy. Like that's a long way away. Internally, I know through the practice that it's all the same place, like it's all the same space. But I didn't know that then. But because I was so identified with that way of thinking and being, by default, me requiring my home base to be near my hometown meant that anything other than that would be a disappointment, a frustration, and a source of incredible suffering. And so it's no wonder I had a miserable time in Yuma because it wasn't Tennessee. And even if you'd have stationed me in Hawaii, somewhere beautiful and tropical like that, I would not have appreciated as much because it wasn't my preference, which I was so identified with. It wasn't Memphis. It wasn't Tennessee. And anything short of that, even Hawaii, would have been a source of a lot of suffering. And so I started thinking about this idea that Michael Singer introduced, that when you don't get what you want and you're so identified with it, what you're saying is that if anything else happens, I will be unhappy. Instead of saying like, wherever I go, whatever happens, I'm going to cultivate inner peace, love, kindness, and lead with an open heart. With an intention like that, how do you not experience like an abundance of joy? That's what you experience. But I didn't, because I was so identified with that. Now, my example is Yuma, Arizona. Your experiences might be, I'll be happy when I get married. So what happens if you don't get married? Does that mean that you are not happy or you can't be full of joy? Or what if you get divorced? Does that mean that life is over? Is that what it means? Because default, what you're saying is that this is the only thing that will make me happy. I did the same thing with vacations, and perhaps you do too. And my vacations would be like, we go to some amazing, beautiful places, Colorado, Utah, California. I mean, just beautiful places rooted in nature. And I would say, I hope they got powder. Like they really need to have powder for this to be a successful ski trip. So we get there and there's no powder. What is my experience of that trip? Now, I'm with some amazing people that I travel with. My experience could be, no matter where I am, I'm going to be great. And I just happened to be on this trip with some great friends. So it's even better. Powder, no powder. We're going to have a blast. We're going to be so blitzed out that we won't even care that there's hardly any snowfall on the ground. That could have been available to me. But by being so identified with the way that things have to be, that things must be, I closed off the possibility of there being anything else there that would contribute to a rich experience. And so, you just want to kind of think about that. Same thing comes with, career and job promotions and things like that. When you require life or people to be a certain way, just be clear that you are by default making everything else inferior, undesirable, and you're causing and creating suffering for yourself. And that is a choice. You may be unconscious like I was for a lot of years, but nonetheless, it is still a choice that can easily become the story of your life. So I encourage you to make a different choice, to say, like, whether we're staffed fully or not staffed fully, whether I'm on call or not on call, I'm going to show up as my best, and I am just going to open my heart to all of the joy that is available in every moment with every person in every situation. And if something becomes challenging, that's an opportunity to deepen my practice in that area of acceptance, of really focusing on the things that I can control, which is about this much, and having an amazing experience in the face of what seems like a challenge, which is in reality an opening for expanding my level of consciousness so I can continue to be blissed out and have a blast and contribute to others. I mean, that's what it's really all about. And I've learned that in a big way. So I encourage you that if you were doing what I was doing as Keith 1.0 and needing things to be a certain way for you to be happy, consider letting all of that go. And when you do, the world will open up to you, like big time. You will see beauty and novelty and kindness and goodness in ways that you couldn't imagine. You will no longer need politics or political leaders to be a certain way. Like, you will find the goodness in every situation when you do that. You'll find and see the possibilities, and then you'll open up, and you will actually be a greater contribution to the world and to your loved ones and to yourself. So I encourage you, stop needing things to be a certain way for you to be happy.